Welcome to Mirror Domains, and this is the best horror movies of 2023 according to me. Yes, the guy who's only watched 95 movies this year. Only 95? Oh my god. All of the movies I've seen are linked, or not linked, they are in the description box below so you can see my list of all the movies that I've seen. So I've seen a bevy, and horror is one of my favorite genres. So guys, this is a little bit raw, a little bit, it's not as professional as I would like, but it is what it is. We'll start off by talking about some, well, I was going to talk about some honorable mentions here. So let's do that. Let's talk about some lists that, some of the ones that are not going to be on my top 10 list. And then we'll talk a few really bad ones. All right, Bifer in the live chat says, hey, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Bifer. Let's talk about one that doesn't make my top 10, and that is this movie called Evil Dead Rise. Now, I know that'll be on some people's lists, but for me, guys, I am an Evil Dead fan. Evil Dead 2 is a masterpiece, in my opinion. And when I saw this movie, it looked like it had all the right ingredients to be a good installment in this franchise, except when I saw it, it just left me questioning things more than I wanted. Yeah, it's okay that it's not in the forest this time around, but I just found myself, well, what is the goal of the Deadites? What's the goal of the bad guys? Okay, you're out. You're free. Somebody said the verses, and now you can run amok all over the world and be like, let's take everything over. But no, let's stay inside this apartment building for some reason and attack this one family for, I guess, plot reasons. So that's why Evil Dead Rise does not crack my top 10. It'll be up there for a lot of people. But for me, it was just meh. Sorry to say. Now, I do want to revisit it. I do want to give it a better shake on it, maybe on a repeat viewing. Another movie that will be up there for a lot of people. Chris Schober says, hey, James, how was your Christmas Day and Christmas Eve? Oh, it was very nice, Chris. Thank you very much for asking. We are talking about some horror movies. We just talked about Evil Dead Rise not making my top 10. Another movie that'll be up there for a lot of people will be When Evil Lurks. Some people say that this was groundbreaking, but for me, it was just kind of like, maybe it was a cultural thing. They were trying to, I guess, work with some mythos about some evil entity that follows people around and infects people on kind of like bad vibes or something like that. We did watch this on Twitch, right? We did, didn't we? I didn't hate it. But I also was kind of like, I don't see what all the fuss is about. When Evil Lurks, honorable mention. Yes, I could see why people liked it, but for me, it was kind of like, I was expecting, well, people were trying to sell it as the next best thing, right? Like, this is the best thing horror has received this year, and I was kind of like, meh, not really. Not really. Yep, I was at the Evil Lurks watch party, yep. Here's another one that, won't make people's lists, but I found that it was fairly entertaining when I watched it. And that's The Pope's Exorcist. James. A lot of it, yeah. Now, it did fall into the same tropes of, oh, there's a kid with scratches on his face talking in a weird demonic voice. But for me, I actually found the best part of this was Russell Crowe and his portrayal of this father or this priest that does exorcists for the Pope. And I found all of that fascinating. All of the exorcism parts were fairly generic, fairly run-of-the-mill, people floating up off the ground and stuff like that. But I actually found it kind of intriguing with the premise of what Russell Crowe was doing in this movie. And if they ever made a second one, I'd be up for it. I didn't have anything too negative to say about my experience in the theater for The Pope's Exorcist. Now, I know some people out there will be like, what are you talking about, James? What are you smoking? But that's just where I'm at. All right, let's talk about two bad ones here that didn't make my list. And then we'll get into the formal top 10. Hi. We talked about this in my worst movies of the year. The Boogeyman, the Booger Man. Yeah. This was based on a Stephen King short story, and it didn't land for me. This was one of the worst movies of the year because I liked the trailers for this. It was pretty eerie with the girl that played the young Princess Leia from the Obi-Wan series in this movie. So I was kind of hyped on this. I was kind of like, okay, this looks like it has the potential to be fairly menacing. But when you get down to it, guys, there's this creature that doesn't look all that scary at all, and they pulled their punches. Yeah, no, yeah, that's perfect. The Boogeyman is a perfect movie that describes when filmmakers pull their punches, and for me, that didn't land. So Boogeyman's one of the worst of the year. Another one in the same kind of ilk, the same kind of theme was It Lives. And just like When Evil Lurks, it must have been a cultural thing because there's like this jinn that lives in this glass. And you got to keep on feeding it negative energy to keep it satisfied. And if you don't, then it'll, well, brutally murder people that you love and stuff like that. So I don't know if it was a cultural thing. The actress in it did fine, but it was kind of like, I'm not scared here, guys. This isn't very menacing. This is actually kind of like laughable. And then this one too is when we get to see the entity or the creature, it's laughable. It's very low budget. Chris Schubert says, "Did you hear that Scream 7 news, James? That Chris Landon left." Yeah, we talked about that on last week's show, I think. And they're saying it could be, yeah, it shouldn't happen. Scream 7 shouldn't happen. But we'll talk about that when we get done, because Scream 6 is in the top 10. So It Lives and Boogeyman are not worth talking about. And one final thing, we'll talk about these as we go through and interact with the live chat here. The one final one that I did not get to see that I wanted to was Winnie the Pooh and Blood and Honey. 3% by critics, 50% by the audience. Guys, I am a horror aficionado. I'm ashamed that I didn't get out to see this one. I know all the buzz and hype out there, but I mean, with 3% by critics, would it have ended up on my worst list of the year? Probably. But we knew that it was low budget. We knew that it was bad acting. We knew that it was shoestring kind of production fare. So I don't know what people were expecting, like a masterpiece here, like a Terrifier kind of thing. But even Terrifier is kind of like, yeesh, little rough. If Terrifier was rough around the edges, then this is like high school schlock put together. It's a noble attempt. I know that they won the rights to make a sequel, so I'm sorry I did not see Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. All right. Let's get into my formal top 10 movies of the year. This is why we're here. Number 10, coming in. Guys, this one was fairly early in the year, and it was sold as kind of a post-apocalyptic or like doomsday scenario by M. Night Shyamalan. And I wanted to see it mostly because it has Dave Bautista in it. In, I guess, some kind of a home invasion story. Knock at the Cabin is my number 10 pick. Knock at the Cabin. And I think this movie did what Leave the World Behind was trying to do, but better, right? Knock at the Cabin, like, is the world ending or isn't it? That kind of jousting of, are these guys really insane? Is this really happening? Or are they just lying? Right? And I like that duality. And then at the end, it's kind of ambiguous. So if you don't like ambiguous endings, then Knock at the Cabin won't be for you. But when you think about it, it is actually kind of horrifying, right? Knock at the Cabin. So 67% by critics, 63% by the audience. It's middle of the road. That's why it's number 10, guys. Number 10 for me, Knock at the Cabin.
Katie, you lost your parents.
Okay, number 9. Number 9 was fairly early in the year. Yes, fairly early in the year. And if you can guess it by just looking at it for a few frames here, you know what it is. It's Megan. And that creepy dancing doll, I think that we all see was the selling point. And it's still creepy now to look at it. My God. Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to watching a sequel to this, and which we are going to get, and to see where it goes, because it is a robot, it's AI technology, and of course, it's just like Chucky, where hey, that can go into different bodies and stuff like that. So hopefully, maybe someday we'll get a sequel, like maybe a Chucky versus Megan rematch, or pit against them, not rematch, James. First match. First match. Yeah, Megan. I don't know. But it was received fairly well, 93% by critics, 78 by the audience, and it had a nice short run time. Was it scary? Not really. I mean, the doll design, the creature like the way that it looked with the big eyes and such, was kind of eerie. Uh, I just felt like it would have been served better if it had a more competent director behind it, to set things up properly so that when you pay off with the weird dancing and stuff, it just doesn't feel like it's there for particular reasons. It's there because she read something about that guy's profile on that guy's internet searches or something like that, and then that would be a little bit more sinister, right? So it was there, but it was just not quite enough. But for number 9, Megan is my pick. Megan. Moving on to number 8. Number 8. Is this like the 5th movie in this franchise, guys? Now, I really found myself enjoying Insidious, The Red Door. The conclusion to this story for Patrick Wilson's character and Rose Byrne's story about like their family. And I was pleasantly surprised by this coming out, because it was kind of like, oh, this is the 5th one. This is the first time Patrick Wilson has directed anything. Um, it can't be that good, can it? But they somehow managed to capture that kind of creepiness of the, what is it, the underneath or whatever it's called, and that red door where the Darth Maul creature is. And I liked it. I came out kind of like, that was a good effort. Um, One thing about Patrick Wilson is that because he's a really good actor, he did a good job of working with that crew and getting out some good performances. Surprisingly, from especially from the kid from the first movie, he came back to reprise his role as an adult, and I don't think he did a whole lot of work since then. But he still carried it enough for me to say thumbs up for Insidious: The Red Door, um, in my eighth pick. Now, it wasn't received that well by the critics, but 70% by the audience. I was more on that side. Um, yeah, just a pleasant surprise. Pleasant surprise. And it was cool to see Rose Byrne back too. Some live comments here. I just got Netflix. Chris says, for Christmas, I just rewatched Rebel Moon Part 1 again. Think about my thoughts. Yeah, no, I'm not going to be watching Rebel Moon again. Do you know, James, that you can order Megan doll online, and definitely excited for Megan 2.0? No, I'm not ordering a Megan doll. That just leaves too many weird questions to be asked of, well, why would I need a Megan doll in the background? That's uh you. Yeah, let's not go there. Um, let's go on to my number 7 pick. My number 7 pick. My favorite 7th favorite horror movie of the year. This one should come as no surprise. Can you you'd see it right there? Can you guess what it is? It's Scream 6. Now, I like this because it had Hayden Panettiere back in this, and I wanted to see where they were going to try to grow this franchise. And it started off really good, and I thought that it closed fairly well too. I like Jenna Ortega and I like Melissa Barrera. So the news this year that we're going to lose both of them. They're not going to be in Scream 7. We've lost the director for Scream 7. It's kind of like, well, is this the final Scream movie that we're going to see? And I was happy that they didn't kill off any of the legacy characters. For God's sakes, why does that have to be a mandate and everything? But I found myself surprisingly attached to the new cast. I liked it. So to see that they're not going to be back, I don't know how they're going to do that. Like, Jen Ortega is one of the biggest stars right now. How could you not just wait for her schedule to be free? Because she's she has to be contractually obligated. So if you say that we want to make Scream 7 right after she's done Wednesday season 2, then so be it. Obviously, you're gonna have to go out and get a new director, and then that director will want to have story input. So you're gonna have some time to play ball here, Spyglass. Get on top of it. And I like Melissa Barrera in this role a lot, so it sucks that we're not going to see her back unless somehow the Spyglass Entertainment acquiesces and comes back to it. But we'll have to see. 76 by the critics, 91 by the audience. So yeah, that's my 7th pick, and I stand by it because there's other movies in this list where I kind of ranked it on, well, what would I like to own? Yeah, and that would be the 7th horror movie of the year that I would own. Okay, let's move on to number 6. Number 6 is a Netflix movie that came out earlier in the year, and it's a sequel to a movie with Sandra Bullock. It's a sequel to a Sandra Bullock movie that I didn't think that I would like. It's Spanish, so I just felt like, it's just a different take on it, but I was pleasantly surprised by Bird Box Barcelona. Yeah, for my number 6 pick. Can you believe that, guys? Can you believe it? You know what Bird Box Barcelona did that so many other sequels have trouble doing? It's expanding the universe. And Bird Box Barcelona does that fantastically. It's just not a retread. It's not just a rinse and repeat. They try to evolve things and they take it from a different angle. And I was kind of like, yeah, this is really surprisingly good. And it's got tension in it, for sure. So I like Bird Box Barcelona, and I hope to see a third in this franchise. It's very much going in the way that you would think that World War Z would go, right? Or it's supposed to go, where it was supposed to be like all these different stories of like the zombie outbreak. This is more like all over the place of the Bird Box outbreak. Kind of like what we're getting with Quiet Place, right? How you got the Quiet Place story with the family there, but then we're getting Quiet Place Day One, with it's going to be a totally different scenario, but it's going to be kind of like the same kind of threat, right? And that's what Bird Box Barcelona was. A surprise for sure. It came out in July, and we did fully watch that here on YouTube with some live people in the comment section, and I was pleasantly surprised by Bird Box Barcelona when it comes down for the people to put their lives on the line. I was surprised that I'm invested. I was invested. 53% by the critics, 36% by the audience. So I don't know what people were expecting. I think they were expecting, well, why isn't Sandra Bullock in this? Why isn't it just a rinse and repeat? Because they're trying to do something different with it, guys. They're trying to take it from a different angle. The film has moments of pure and hard terror that should appease those who love the genre. Yeah. A new element, which I think is very bright for the film. They pull this thing off again. Yeah, and it's really, there's some twists and turns with the characters in this that are kind of like, wow, I didn't expect that. I didn't think that would happen. My God. And that's what's cool about Bird Box Barcelona, man. I dug it. But it is worthwhile to go back and watch the first Bird Box just to understand the rules of the universe before going into the Bird Box Barcelona. Because knowing the mythos behind it all really helps you get engaged into this one. And then you'll really notice, oh, well, that's different this time. Oh, they're going down this route. This is totally different. And that's why Bird Box Barcelona is on my list. Okay, so that's number 6. All right, guys, if you like this kind of thing, before we get into the top 5, hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe. Come on, you know you want to. Chris says in the live chat, that would be cool for a Chucky versus Megan movie. I would definitely recommend watching it. It sounds awesome. Yeah. Did you hear about Kylo Ren news? Oh, yeah. Adam Driver's done. Yeah. About Star Wars. They're totally done. Hey, but hey, if you guys kind of like this stuff, subscribe to the channel, because you can find my worst list of the year. That's up on the channel right now. We did that earlier this morning. All my least favorite movies of 2023. And of course, we're going through the horror movies right now. My movie reviews for Ferrari and the Iron Claw are up on the channel right now, as well as Aquaman. and the Lost Kingdom. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I think people like that one. No? Yes? Yes? Um, yeah. Yeah. There we go. Poor Things review. Wonka review. We're watching Hell's Kitchen right now. That resumes this week, guys. Oh, sorry, I forgot a little bit of a glimpse there of things to come on my top 10 horror movies for 2023. Pfeiffer says, James, thanks for sacrificing your time while the Bills are playing. Oh yeah, the Bills are, yeah, but they're playing against the Patriots, and they should take that one down because the Patriots suck. Divisional game, and they've pretty much already secured their wild card spot, which means they're going to be playing the Chiefs again, probably. And they better win against the Chiefs this time this year, for God's sakes. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Let's get into the top 5 horror movies of the year, according to James, here at Mirror Domains. This one was a Hulu movie, and it was kind of rough to watch at the beginning because the sound mix was a little bit off when I started watching this movie. And we did a full live reaction to it. So that's up. I think we did this one on Twitch, right? So this movie is called No One Will Save You, alien invasion story, but it's more like a home invasion story. And it's kind of like this girl doesn't really talk that much throughout the entire film. And these aliens kind of infect you and will make you do weird things. But by the end of it, when you finally figure out sort of what's going on, it's really creepy, man. It's kind of like, ooh, I think I like this movie. It was kind of run of the mill to begin with, but make sure that you got the right audio settings. Turn off the 5.1 surround sound if you're watching it on your headphones or just your TV, because what 5.1 surround sound is um, specialized for is if you got like a sound bar with speakers, and most people don't have that. And if you don't have that, then it's kind of like that's why some of the dialogue sounds really quiet, or like even dog sounds, or like dogs barking in the background. But No One Will Save You was a surprise sleeper hit for people, and very eerie too. The alien design, I don't know if you can see them in the background there. I don't think they show them in the trailer, but that too was also kind of eerie. And then again, one of the ambiguous endings. Wait a minute, is that really happening here? Is that what really happened? Seriously? Yeah. So I liked, for number 5, No One Will Save You. 82% by critics, 56 by the audience, and I think the audience score for this will be lower because the main actress there doesn't say a whole lot of dialogue in this movie, played by Caitlin Dever, or Dever, yes. Um, but I liked it, so that's my number 5 pick. Dever is simply exceptional, and she was. And the movie as a whole is about as high quality of a genre picture you could hope to find while scrolling through Hulu. Yeah, it's surprising it was on Hulu, and I got to see it while I still have my Disney Plus subscription. So I decided to check it out, and I was pleasantly surprised with a good horror movie in my number 5 spot. Number 4. Yes. Next. Number 4 will be higher for some people. This movie also this movie didn't come out of nowhere, though. This movie slowly generated buzz, and if you had a chance to see it, I encourage you to go and see Talk to Me, about this kind of severed hand that you shake hands with, and it shows you like a vision of like dead people or something like that. And it's actually quite eerie because you kind of like hallucinate of like this evil spirit that will infect your body and kind of like show you horrific things, kind of thing, right? And then you start to hallucinate out in the real world, kind of thing too, right? Good performances all around. Some creepy things going on here. I know that this will be higher up for some people, but for me it was kind of like, again, based on would I like to own it or not. Yeah, it's about the 4th one that I'd have in that priority list. It does try to um, break new ground. And I think it did so successfully, of bringing this kind of interesting trope of this severed hand talk to me. And yeah, kudos. Number 4. And I think I'm not the only one that felt this way about it, because as I said, I think a lot of people out there will be having it higher on their horror list. Talk to me. 94% by critics, 82 by the audience. So the majority of the feature demonstrates the capacity of the Philippines at the service of their characters. Yes. So Talk to Me holds you in its grips until it's over, but that's it. On the strength of pure craft and ambition, the Philippines have earned the entry into the Elevated Horror Club. Maybe as they grow and develop as directors, they'll renounce their membership. What? Incredibly effective, yeah. For the most part, everybody liked this movie. And it is creepy. The way that it was shot, the way that they get these disturbing images of what the evil spirit's trying to show them. I don't know, it stuck with you. It kind of like lingered with you in the back of your mind when you think about it. Talk to Me is my number 4 pick, guys. Number 4. Chris Schober says, I ordered on eBay the horror movie Totally Killer on Blu-ray, James. Oh, nice. Cool, man. That's one that I would like to have. All right. Let's move on to the number 3 pick. Number 3. This movie is going to be really surprising for you guys. But again, this is just all based on what I would like to own. All right. And some people will look at this and say, James, what are you doing? What are you talking about? This movie can't possibly be up there that high for you as well as horror. Well, it is. The Nun 2. Unbelievable, James. Now, I think I ranked this one a lot higher because we had just watched the first Nun on Twitch, and I didn't like the Nun the first time it came out in theaters because it was kind of like, I still wanted it to be very attached to the Conjuring universe, and it still is, but it was kind of like I wanted it to be really attached, and it was like so, like Elseworlds, like Bird Box Barcelona. I had that reaction. It was like, why isn't it more about the main story characters? But it was kind of like, okay, fine. I'm on board with Thaisa Farmiga, and I like this character. So when I watched The Nun 2, I was refreshed with all of the story and the mythos behind it, and I found some of the creepy jump scares were fairly effective. Now, that's pretty much all it was jump scares. I don't find Valak particularly all that creepy, but I like the imagery and I like the tone. I like the tone of it because it was dark, and there was a weird kind of eeriness about the way that Valak would show up, like here where you see her just kind of materialize out of pictures and stuff. So yeah, The Nun 2. Now, I'm sure that the critics were much harsher on it. No, they weren't. 52%, 73 by the audience. A quick hour and 50 minutes. I found myself really, really on board with The Nun 2, and I'm looking forward to revisiting. This is one that I would like to have in my collection. Why, James? Well, because I'm sorry. I guess I am in love with Thaisa Farmiga. The Farmiga sisters are poof. James, don't make yourself look like an ogre. But she's good, and I am interested to see like Sister Irene or whatever. I want to see more because you look at the title, The Nun, and you think, well, the Nun it's a Valak, right? Valak's the Nun, but it also could be Sister Irene, right? So I would see another story that doesn't have her deal with Valak, but I would deal with Sister Irene. And now that you got Storm Reed there as kind of like her number 2 kind of sidekick kind of thing, I would be on board with seeing that duo go on and take other exorcist kind of stuff, because the church looked for her to go and deal with this case specifically. And I don't know if you need to have a third bout with her taking on Valak, but I like how the Farmiga sisters in the Conjuring universe are like the mediums, right? They can see or sense the spirits, and I think that that's cool, man. Yeah, we don't need Valak for the third Nun movie, but I'm sure some people would would want that. Hey, it's you can't run away completely from the rinse and repeat, but I'd be generous enough to see the Nun 3. All right, time for my number 2 pick, and this one was tough. This one was tough because it switched. As of this morning, my number 2 pick was still number 1, but then in hindsight, when I was thinking about it, I was like, no, I'm gonna swap them. I'm gonna swap them because I really like this movie. I like both movies, but this second movie on my list um, was an absolutely silly and ridiculous premise of this girl, Kiernan Shipka. The movie's called Totally Killer, and basically she time travels in a and tries to solve a murder with her teenage mother, and you're kind of like, okay, um, this is like Back to the Future meets Halloween, but it's kind of like meets Scream. You're trying to guess who's the killer, but then there's like the fish out of water story of like the newer kid trying to relate to the 80s, which is more my youth era, and it's kind of like to see that kind of story play out. It's kind of like, okay, well, it's going to be slapstick kind of thing, but then you're like, all of the references in this, it's very on the nose with some of the cultural references. And you're like, well, this, wait a minute. Yeah, the killer's mask looks ridiculous, but you're more invested in the human side story of it when she starts to talk with her mother and see how shallow her mother used to be as a teenager, but then to see where some of her future um, traits begin to evolve from, kind of thing, right? It was like, holy crap, this movie Totally Killer has absolutely no business being this well written, this well crafted. And it's still in the editing bay, but I'm going to get this up on YouTube hopefully in the next day or two. uh, Totally Killer, 87% by critics, 76 by the audience, and this is one that I want on Blu-ray. I'm going to go out and get this one because there's just like what Scream did in the 90s. This, I hope, is going to do for the 2020s. And I want to see more. I want to see, put Kiernan Shipka on the map for me. And I was really, really surprised. All right. Yes. Who knows? Who else? We got Randall Park in here. Yeah. All right. Um, Kiernan Shipka does a great job. And it was on the cusp of being cheesy, for sure. They play with that cheese. And it's got some really creepy imagery in here, too. And it resolves things at the end. And you'll be like, okay, this is ridiculous. Wait a minute, I'm kind of enjoying this. What's going on here? I like this movie. That's kind of like the evolution of what will happen to you when you watch this movie. Variety says, in trying to break the tension with humor, too many horror movies undercut the emotional stakes by instead of being glib. A pitfall. Totally Killer mostly manages to avoid all of that. Yeah. You would say that, oh, this is a common trope here, but then they go in a different direction, and it's kind of like, cool, man. Richard Roper, the cast is great, dialogue snappy, sometimes the story even makes sense. Yeah, the dialogue, that's what I'm talking about. The dialogue is snappy because there's like the mean girls, and she's got to interact with the mean girls from the 80s. And there's some witty stuff in there, but then it gets paid off when they're having like a quiet moment of them talking, and it's like, Mom, you actually behave like this? Uh, and to see that kind of like reaction in the daughter, played brilliantly by Kiernan Shipka, it put her on the map for me, and I am really wanting to see more work from her in the future. Totally Killer is number 2, which means my number 1 movie, my favorite movie, horror movie of the year. Let me know if I missed anything, guys, because I don't think I did. Here we go. The bullet. Can you guess what it is? The Penderson Project? No, that's not it. This movie is the 10th movie in this franchise, and Saw 10 comes in at the number 1 spot for me because I found myself kind of like, wait a minute. I'm kind of like really liking Kramer, John Kramer in this version. And a lot of that has to do with the way that Tobin Bell plays him in this. Uh, it takes place between Saw 1 and 2, I believe, or is it 2 and 3, where he goes to Mexico to try to cure his brain cancer. And then, of course, he gets sucked into some kind of scam. And then, of course, those people who made the scam, well, you know, they got to pay their comeuppance. So you're kind of like rooting for them to get, like, all of the people that betrayed him. You're kind of like, yeah, you want to see him do it. And now, what's interesting about this is you've heard me in the past say, oh, I don't want to watch a movie where the hero gets turned into an anti-hero kind of thing, right? But in this case, no, he still does bad things, but it's kind of like you want to see him do it because the people that he's doing it to are even worse than him. And I just came out of Saw 10 kind of like, how did they reinvent it in the 10th version in? That's good filming. That's good story writing. And I would like to have this one on Blu-ray as well. Because I'm just kind of like, wow, Saw 10. Who would have known coming out of that would be my favorite horror movie of the year. 80% by critics, 89% by the audience. It's just kind of like they reinvented it a little bit for Jigsaw, for number 9, right? And then they just kind of ran with that idea for Saw 10. So I'm really looking forward to Saw 11. They've somehow, just like what Fast and Furious did with Saw Fast 5, they re-energized this series again. And I want to watch more. And I want to watch more like this. Saw 10. I really enjoyed it. Guys, that's my pick for number 1. So, and yes, this actress was really good in it too. She's like the evil one, right? Who is she played by? What, we don't get a cast list here? There she is. Synnøve Makodi Lund. Yeah. Johnny Smith was back in this. So Saw 10 is my number 1 pick. I could easily flip back and forth between that and Totally Killer. Yeah, Saw 10. Number 1. So, how did that go again, guys? Number 10 was Knock at the Cabin. Number 9 was Megan. Number 8 was Insidious, The Red Door. Number 7 was Scream 6. Number 6 was Bird Box Barcelona. Number 5 was No One Will Save You. Number 4, Talk to Me. Number 3, The Nun 2. What is that one doing there? Number 2, Totally Killer. And number 1 was Saw 10. It's been a pretty good year in horror, I would say. Fairly expensive. I guess there is only one other one that I kind of want to address before we finish this video. And this will be, it was hard to figure out where this one would have fit. Because I like this movie, but I know that this movie won't be for everybody. And when I thought about it, I liked it. It was horrifying, but I guess it does classify as horror. I thought it more of a thriller, though. That's Mia Goth, Alexander Skarsgård, that star in Infinity Pool. But it was more of like a sci-fi dark thriller kind of thing because it dealt with like cloning. And it goes to some weird places. Really weird places. James, yeah, but Mia Goth, fantastic. Look at the look on her face there. I'd watch it simply because of her. Mia Goth is easily one of my favorite actresses right now. And would that be where would it have been if I said that, okay, this was horror, where would it have ended up? It would have ended up in the top 5, which means Knock at the Cabin would have been knocked out. And I probably would have put Infinity Pool somewhere like in, actually probably number 6 is where Infinity Pool would be. Yeah. Well, that's the only other one. It's not quite, it's if you saw it, then you would know what kind of genre bending kind of thing that I'm talking about. But if somebody said that it was horror, then I would be, yeah, I guess so. I guess so. All right, guys. So that's all I have pretty much in the can for today. Chris says, I haven't watched any of the movies I ordered yet. I'm looking forward to watching my Blu-ray Totally Killer and Killers of the Flower Moon. Totally Killer is worth watching, man. Killers of the Flower Moon, watch it when you're sick at home in bed, because it's a 4-hour movie, so it's kind of like, yeah. Although it's kind of a bummer, so it'll kind of like, geez, guys, this is kind of morose. Well, you're watching people get killed, so it's kind of like that. Chris Schober, I'm really excited to watch my Hunger Games ballot. Yo, that's we'll talk about that tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow we're talking about the best movies of the year. I'm going to try to finish Maestro, and I have not been able to track down a copy of. Oh, which one am I thinking about? James, pull that up. Pull up your list. Anatomy of a Fall. Because I hear great things. It was playing in limited release around me, and I didn't get out to see it. It's like a Swedish movie, right? Of this woman accused of murdering her husband, and did she do it or didn't she do it? I hear that she's got a good performance, the lead actress in this. So I just haven't been able to track down a copy yet, and I'm going to try to squeeze it in maybe tomorrow morning before I do my list. I'm going to take it very easy tomorrow, guys. I don't know if there'll be a movie news. We'll see. I'm just going to play from here. But we'll be back on Tuesday, full schedule and stuff. We'll have to build things up for the new year. I think in the new year, I want to, I'm going to really try to go with the music page, my music page, and as well as gaming page. We're going to bring it all back, guys. A lot of new shorts coming along. Shorts will be the mandate to drive traffic to the channel. It'll be good. I want to say one more thing. And because this happened, I think yesterday, unbeknownst to me, and I do want to address it now. Tom Wilkinson, you may not recognize the name right off of the bat, but when you see him, you'll recognize him. He was in Batman Begins, Full Monty. He passed on at the age of 75. I don't know exactly what from. I haven't read the full report yet, but I just wanted to give my condolences and say that he was a very talented actor. I really appreciated his work. He was great all around. A lot of people, yeah, but he was also good from like Batman Begins. But he's also good at playing like the token kind of Englishman bad guy from The Patriot. I think that's probably my favorite performance by him in The Patriot, because he plays Cornwallis, right? And you can tell that he was like one of the old school military people. And of course, that's him doing the full Monty there. Somebody's trying to have some fun there. But rest in peace, Tom Wilkinson. It was just a real bummer, man. Real bummer. Let's go to his IMDb, because there's so many other great performances that deserve recognition, for sure. Full Monty mini-series. Yeah, he came back and did that briefly, right? Bone in the Throat post-production. So that'll be the last time we see him. Bone in the Throat. Watership Down miniseries. Titan. Happy Prince. Denial. Yeah. Huge resume. Snowden. Selma, Unfinished Business. Samaritan. Kennedy's Conspirators. Ruffalo. Valkyrie. Huge resume. He's worked with best actors. Tom Cruise. Worked with best director with Christopher Nolan. Huge. Huge resume. Rush Hour. Oh, yeah, he was the bad guy in Rush Hour. He was the bad guy in Ghost in the Darkness. That's a movie I'd like to watch with you guys. The Ghost in the Darkness. My God. Shakespeare. Like, look how long is this guy's career, man? Started in 1975. I wasn't even born yet. Weatherby. Storied career. Rest in peace, Tom Wilkinson. Okay. Now, I think that's all I've got for today, guys. I got to get ready to head out for a dinner, but I thought that we would just quickly take a look at the weekend's box office report. Because we got a couple of things. Wonka. Really? Wonka's back at number 1, huh? Fascinating. So they switched between Aquaman 2 and Wonka. Wonka came back at the number 1 spot. And I thought that The Color Purple would have enough moxie because it opened up in 3,000 theaters, 3,200 theaters to leapfrog everybody and get onto the number 1 spot. But I guess musicals are just not the way to go, man. But James, Wonka's a musical. There it is at number 1. Well, but because it wasn't being sold as a musical, it was being sold as kind of the prequel story with Timothée Chalamet playing the Wonka character, right? Color Purple was being sold straight as a musical, which is kind of a thing. That's not really fair to say, but at 387 for Wonka, people are liking it, man. That was the Christmas movie of the year this year, Wonka, right? And then The Color Purple, 50 million domestically. I guess that's not bad either. There are some different polls here that we got to look at. Siphon through here. But The Boys in the Boat, number 6, didn't even crack the top 5, and it was bad on the tomato meter. That's the George Clooney movie where the rowing team, set in 1930s Berlin Olympics. Apparently, it's just the story was not that good. It was disjointed. It's playing in theaters now, and it was going to be on a matinee pick for me later on, but I don't think I'm going to see it. I'm going to go see that Glenn Powell, Sydney Sweeney rom-com before I see Boys in the Boat. Speaking of which, that's called Anyone But You, hanging in there in the top 5. 33 million domestically. And then Ferrari, 2,300 theaters, 8th spot, 14 million worldwide. Very slow start. Very slow start. But I'll tell you this, the marketing, there was no ramp up for the marketing for Ferrari. Just kind of like, it's coming out in the Christmas time, guys. Where's all your TV spots? Ramp this up. It's going to be a sleeper hit, though, Ferrari. I really liked Ferrari. I know that some people won't like the story because it's not going to be exactly what they want to see. But if you can let that go and just kind of absorb of what they're trying to give you, there's a lot of subtext going on in the movie. There is. And if you're kind of like holding this grudge of disappointment of it not being a fast action racing movie, then you're going to be let down. But there's a lot of subtext in it, a lot of metaphor, which I appreciated. Michael Mann, really good. So hopefully that'll hang around there in the top 5, because there's really only this next week coming out is Night Swim to start us off for 2024. So come join us. A horror movie to start out the new year is always the best way in my books, right? Night Swim for next year. And I don't know if, well, Wonka will be down to about 13 million, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. All right, guys. I think that's pretty much it for me. There's my top 10 horror movies of the year. Boy and the Heron has surpassed 130 million. This one should I put this one on my top 10 of the year? It's so close, guys. The Boy and the Heron. I really like Hayao Miyazaki. It's breathtaking. It is breathtaking. That it's one that's fighting to get into the top 10 for sure. It'll be on my honorable mentions if it doesn't get in, guys. I'm not a big animation fan. Yeah, but if you're not into normal animation, like if you're not into the Spider-Man Spider-Verse animation, this is much more easier on the eyes. And it's fantastical, right? It's kind of like a little bit like Alice in the Wonderland, right? And I liked it. I liked it. Karen Kusama names her favorite films of 2023. The Zone of Interest, El Conde, All of Us Strangers, Perfect Days. So a whole bunch of things that nobody saw. This is the problem, right? At least with me, guys, I'm trying to give you guys a good mix of stuff that's been in theaters, something that you'll recognize. Like most people will recognize these titles, except for maybe Bird Box Barcelona. No One Will Save You. Yeah. Most people are totally killer. I want to bring recognition to those things too, right? So I'm not a critic that's coming in with all of these things that for movies that like only the critics saw, because the general population will just not have any parts of it, right? Jewel Taylor, Godzilla -1, Beef, Across the Spider-Verse, Bottoms. Still need to see Bottoms. Lost in the Stars, Boy and the Heron, Oppenheimer, Barbie, American Fiction. American Fiction I still need to see. So that one will probably get left off my list. Maestro will not be on there, but I recognize what it was. Ooh, Pfeiffer won't like that. Leave the World Behind. So these are all the artsy-fartsy critics. Anyone But You, the Sydney Sweeney rom-com with Glenn Powell, has surpassed $27.5 million at the box office. The film cost $25 million to produce. Well, you know what? Sydney Sweeney, I want to see. I want to see her acting chops. We know Glenn Powell can act. Aquaman has surpassed 50 million at the domestics for a total of 250 million globally on a $255 million budget. But it still has to make around 400 plus to break even, guys. For 400 million plus. Let's pull up Aquaman's numbers. 258. So on a $205 million budget plus marketing, let's say 100 million in marketing, 300 plus percentage of what theaters take, around 400 million. Yeah, 400 million to break even. Yeah, it's not going to get there. No, it's not. No. Unless January's really, really slow. And just a bunch of award stuff. All right. Guys, that's it for me today. I got to get ready to head out for a dinner. If not, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, guys, and I'll see you next time. Come join us tomorrow for the best movies of 2023 list. Will Barbie be on that list? Will Killers of the Flower Moon be on that list? Who knows? Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Maybe. Maybe. Who knows? Come join us tomorrow and we'll talk about my favorite movies of 2023. If not, enjoy the rest of your day. Go out and have some fun tonight. Happy New Year's for everybody out there. Not too much fun, though. I don't want to have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to come get you out of the drunk tank, all right? But I would. All right, see you tomorrow, guys. Happy New Year.